We have dietitian Sarah with us, as well as parents Jessie and Anne-Marie. Welcome back. Hey. Good to see you again. We have been following things, but for those, Sarah, who are only new to this Toddlebox and only joining us for the first time now, just explain to us what this challenge is.
Well, really, Toddlebox is a website looking at nutrition and sort of managing fussy eating for toddlers. So what we've done is we've taken 7 brave families, these are 2 of them, who have been videoing their children, their toddlers eating. So we have a before and after where they had videoed them for a week, what they were eating, what they were like, and then we gave them some really good advice, and then they filmed them the week after trying to actually do that.
Okay, and because Jessica, you were with us.
Yeah, I was.
Jack is your son, and when it came to mealtime, he only really related to one word, and that was sausages.
Sausages.
Yeah.
I hate that word, sausages. I don't like saying it. So we haven't seen a sausage in weeks.
Wow.
Weeks in our house.
So what did you do?
We tricked him. Sarah's recipes have just been so great. The second week.
This is Jack before. Yeah.
Yeah, her recipes were just so great. Really, I kind of had a block. I was just doing the same things for him, giving him the same foods. Because I was like, oh, I know he likes it, so he'll
exactly. And then at least he's eating.
Easy life, happy mom. But no, he was so good. Now the second week, we discovered he loves fish. So fish has replaced the sausages.
Okay.
That is amazing.
Well, that is
I
fantastic.
never would have thought to give, I just think, no, he's not going to eat fish. Don't even try it. But it was the recipe for chowder. You wouldn't think a toddler would eat chowder.
Wow.
But
chowder is impressive.
Yeah. If they see the video, he's licking the plate.
Okay, well, we've just been looking at him, turning his food upside down. This is him now.
Look at that boy. He loves his tuck.
I wonder what meal is that?
And he's growing.
He also got a haircut too.
Is that spaghetti going in there? Yeah, it looks like a bit of pasta in the diet.
Yeah, he loves.
So how did you lose the sausages then and introduce the fish?
Well, just trying the recipes, kind of just the menu plan was good because I pretty much followed it. Just really to just kind of test them out and things. And I honestly, the day with the fish, I was like, oh.
I know, because you always feel nervous yourself.
Nervous, yeah, but he literally picked up the plate. There was nothing left, and he was licking it, licking the plate.
Sarah!
Yeah.
Obviously, the child was starving.
And he's eating tuna as well now.
Tuna?
Tuna, yeah.
Wow,
Couldn't believe that one. Couldn't believe that one.
Good
but
woman.
He loves it. So I think he's forgotten about the sausages.
Yeah, well, unless he's watching now, we keep on reminding him.
He's watching now. He's like, oh yeah.
Sausages. That's brilliant.
So, Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
Wasn't as easy for you, was it, with the twins?
Definitely not. I was the oldest boys in the class. Yeah. It started off, they were, the story was that they lost their appetite from being sick and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So the first week, we filmed how bad they are and how they refused everything. The second week, we filmed how bad they still were. But no. But towards the end of the week, they were getting better. But it was more me that changed because I stopped doing the conveyor belt. And I started to, I suppose, to some degree, starving them a little bit because I wasn't giving them the option. So it was a case of, well, if you don't eat it, you're going to have to wait till your next meal.
This is what I need to start doing. And
yeah, it's very difficult, because they did things like climbed into their high chairs, with the idea of feed me, mom, and I'm looking in every other direction bar at them. And then a friend of mine took them for a walk to the park to feed the ducks and brought bread. And by the time she got to the ducks, the bread was actually gone.
Good boys.
I love it. So, but they're eating more with their hands now. They're not eating huge amounts of foods. It's probably less of a battle, but I've certainly calmed down.
Look at these boys.
Look at
do you trick them into eating things?
Well,
we used to do that with my son, and he hated vegetables. We used to give him vegetable soup, and now he'll eat everything, but he's obviously 30 years old now.
So
and he's a fitness fanatic, but then
so I've only got 28 more years. That's great. But do I trick them a little bit? I was the court jester where I was distracting them and shoving food into their mouths, and I've stopped doing that as well. So they're getting there, but then we went away on holidays for 3 weeks.
And everything went pear-shaped?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Because I became soft mom. I mean, you don't have a routine on holidays.
No,
You're not eating the same amount of food. So we got back at the weekend. So at least this time I know what to do. And I know that if they don't finish a meal, it's not the end of the world. Where I was constantly thinking, they're not eating enough.
Yeah, I know.
But now I know what to feed them and to relax.
And what about portion size? Is that a thing
that
also?
was
Because
me.
I know in our family we love our food and we eat probably far too much. You know, when I go abroad, I see a huge difference in the way culture is. You know.
Yeah.
But the portion sizes were a big one, and I know you were saying about that as well. That was.
I had it in a mentality of like, he's a boy, he needs big meals.
Yes,
and, you
the
know,
Irish mammy.
The Irish mammy, yeah, spuds. Like, so
Yeah.
I was really shocked. Like, some of the recipes, I was like, oh God, it's like really, really small portions. But that worked great because he was just like kind of more settled, and he wasn't, you know, I cut down his milk as well. So he's
And
like,
is he sleeping better?
He's sleeping better now because we've switched around. The dinner is kind of more like lunchtime now, and
Yes,
then his
bigger meal
dinner
at
is like a light meal.
Which is how we used to eat. We used to
Which is
have
how
our
we're
biggest
supposed to
meal in
eat,
the
aren't we?
middle of the day and a smaller meal later. There are other families involved in this, Sarah.
We did. We had 7 families all together, and we just saw great results, to be honest, across the board with them. I think a couple of interesting things. We certainly saw that the younger, we had twins, Allegra and Francesca, and they were done in a week. They were 11 months old, and they just sat up, did what they were told, and they were fabulous. And then obviously the older children, and then Mary, who was in Belfast as well. Just once they hit sort of 2, 2.5, it's that bit harder to do it, and it takes longer. So I'd always say the earlier you can actually tackle it, the better. And what you were saying about the milk was interesting, because the thing that turned up for a huge number of the toddlers was too many drinks in between meals, water or milk or whatever, or blackcurrant, I think, for one of them as well. And it just meant that even though it was only drinks, and it was the idea it's just liquid, they were still full by the time they came to look at meals. And I think Clodagh was a particularly good one to look at that. Clodagh was drinking a litre a day.
Wow.
So it just meant that by the time she was coming to sit down to meals, she just wasn't hungry at all. So we reduced her down to 300 mils. She was using growing up milk, so that was great for like iron and vitamin D, so that was fine. But she needed to be eating her solid food, and we really worked with her to get her red meat and her iron and everything in. She just sat up, she started eating. She was fantastic with that.
Wow.
And she was brilliant because, and I think her mum was particularly grateful because she was waking up 4 and 5 times a night looking for food.
Yes.
She now sleeps 12 to 13 hours a night straight.
Wow.
And it's just been a total turn. She's a brilliant eater, and it's just worked really, really well for her.
Sarah, thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere, because there's a gazillion questions coming in for you. But
We spoke with Toddlebox parents Jessie and Anne-Marie earlier in the show. We've had lots of questions in to go through. So Sarah has rejoined us, and thank you for that, Sarah. You actually wanted to make a point about vitamin D and iron.
That was one of the things, because we looked at the nutrition of all the toddlers that we had, and we kind of analysed what they were eating, and we found that nearly all of them were quite low in vitamin D. And, you know, a good chunk of them were low in the iron as well. And so that was a big thing that we focused on with that. And it's just that vitamin D is something that certainly when kids are on, or babies under 1 year, we recommend that they take supplements. But I think it seems later on it's harder for them to get the vitamin D. So they do need to look for foods that are fortified with it. And the iron is an issue. We know 1 in 4 toddlers in Ireland don't eat enough iron. So that's why one of the things we looked at was things like red meat, and then also fortified foods. So things like growing up milk are a brilliant place for some of the toddlers to add that in. And to keep an eye on a good, varied, balanced diet, that they're getting everything as well.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, good to know that. Sharon from Dublin wants to know, any tips on distracting kids between mealtime? It's very hard when they get a taste for sweet things and then aren't hungry when the dinner comes around.
Well, that's it. I mean, the distraction is great. I mean, absolutely anything that they like to do is good. But a large part of it is just getting them out of the habit and saying no. And I know it's kind of harder to do that, but just often I find, particularly with my own kids, you know, if they come in and say, I'm hungry and I want, and you say, well, have an apple. And if they say no, then they're not hungry. But I know the days they actually eat the apple, then they are hungry. And eventually, and I do say eventually, they get fed up asking. So, you know, just keep working on it.
Okay, or just lock the kitchen door.
That too.
Yeah. Joanne from Galway, are there any good tricks on being more creative or interactive at mealtime with kids? Would that help them eat better, do you think?
The best thing to do with a child to get them to eat at mealtimes is eat with them. Put a child up at the table with you. Even if they're in a high chair, put it to the table. You will find toddlers eat so much better if they can actually see the meal that's going on around them. And they'll eat off your plate and they'll eat off everybody else's plate. So rather than putting books and things, I wouldn't distract them from eating, but put them into a really good social situation.
Yeah, get them away from the TV.
Okay.
That's all we've got time for. But thank you anyway, Sarah. It was great to catch up with the Toddlebox people, and of course we will keep an eye on them to see how things go over the coming weeks.